Why do good men finish last with women? You've seen it your entire life. The guy who does everything right, who's loyal, attentive, devoted, ends up alone or betrayed. Meanwhile, men who seem careless, emotionally distant, even cruel, keep women chasing them. And you've been told this is just bad luck, that you haven't met the right woman yet, that if you just keep being yourself, keep being kind, keep trying harder, eventually it will work. But what if everything you've been taught about attracting and keeping women was designed to keep you powerless? By the end of this video, you'll understand the fundamental psychology that governs female attraction, why your instincts about how to love women actually repel them, and the exact shift in frame that makes you magnetic instead of disposable. But I need to warn you, once you see these patterns clearly, you can't unsee them, and that clarity will change how you move through the world forever. But before we get to the framework that flips everything, you need to understand why your current approach fails. And to understand that, we first need to look at the lie you've been sold about what women actually want. From childhood, you've been conditioned with a story that women want kindness, emotional availability, effort, sacrifice, that love is earned through devotion, that the more you give, the more she'll appreciate you. Movies reinforce this. Songs romanticize it. Even your mother probably told you some version of it. But here's what nobody told you. Women don't fall for sacrifice. They fall for strength. And the moment you start negotiating your value through effort, you've already lost. Because effort signals something to the female unconscious. It signals that you're trying, and trying means you're unsure. Unsure means you don't have options. No options means lower value. And lower value kills attraction faster than anything else you could do. This isn't fair. It isn't romantic. But it's consistent across cultures and centuries. The man who gives too much too soon becomes predictable. And predictability is the death of desire. Women are drawn to uncertainty, mystery, the feeling that they haven't quite captured you yet. The moment you make yourself completely available, completely devoted, completely hers, something shifts. Not consciously. She probably doesn't even realize it's happening. But her attraction begins to fade. Not because she's cruel, but because her biology is responding to signals you're unconsciously broadcasting. Signals that say, you're the best I can get. I'm grateful you chose me. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you. And these signals, no matter how well-intentioned, trigger the opposite of what you want. Because women aren't attracted to gratitude. They're attracted to certainty, to men who know their worth and don't need external validation to feel it. Think about the men you've seen who succeed with women. Not the manipulators or abusers, but the ones who genuinely maintain attraction long-term. What do they have in common? They don't chase approval. They don't reorganize their lives around female validation. They remain centered in their own purpose. And women orbit around that center instead of becoming the center itself. This is the frame shift that changes everything. But most men never make it because they're terrified of what it requires. They're afraid that not chasing means losing, that maintaining boundaries means being alone, that prioritizing their mission over her feelings will drive her away. But the opposite is true, and understanding why requires looking at something most men never examine: what women are actually evaluating when they decide whether to respect you. Women test men constantly, not maliciously, but instinctively. And most men fail these tests without ever realizing they're being evaluated. She doesn't want to test you. Part of her consciously wishes she could just relax and trust you. But her biology won't allow it until you prove something she needs to feel: that your strength is real, that your confidence isn't performance, that you won't crumble under pressure. Every argument that seems pointless, every mood swing that comes from nowhere, every moment she pushes your boundaries, she's asking the same question underneath: can this man contain my chaos? Can I surrender to him without him breaking? And the answer is revealed not through your words, but through your reactions. When she becomes emotional, do you become emotional? When she accuses, do you defend desperately? When she pulls away, do you chase frantically? Each of these responses gives her information. But before we explore how to pass these tests, you need to understand why they exist in the first place. And to understand that, we need to look at what female biology is actually selecting for. Evolution didn't program women to choose the nicest man. It programmed them to choose the strongest. Not physical strength necessarily, but psychological strength. The ability to remain stable when everything around you is unstable. Because in ancestral environments, survival depended on the male's capacity to stay calm under threat, to lead during crisis, to make decisions when others panicked. A man who became as emotional as the woman couldn't protect her. A man who collapsed under stress couldn't lead. A man who needed her approval to feel confident couldn't provide the certainty she needed to feel safe. So women evolved to test for these qualities, not consciously, but automatically. Through emotional volatility that reveals whether your composure is real. Through challenges to your authority that expose whether your leadership is genuine. Through withdrawal of affection that shows whether you're dependent on her validation. Most men interpret these tests as problems to solve. She's upset, so I need to fix it. She's distant, so I need to pursue her. She's criticizing me, so I need to defend myself. But every one of these responses fails the test. Because the test isn't about solving her problem. It's about demonstrating that her problem doesn't destabilize you. When she's emotional and you remain calm, you pass. When she pulls away and you give her space without anxiety, you pass. When she criticizes and you listen without becoming defensive, you pass. You're not being cold, you're being centered. And centeredness is what her biology is screening for. But here's what most men never grasp. The more you try to make her happy through compliance and accommodation, the less she respects you. Because compliance signals that you're afraid of losing her, and fear of loss broadcasts lower value more clearly than words ever could. She needs to feel that you could walk away. Not that you want to, but that you could. That your life has enough purpose, enough fulfillment, enough meaning that her presence enhances it but doesn't define it. This isn't a manipulation tactic. It's the truth of masculine polarity. Women are drawn to men who are complete without them, because completeness creates the space for genuine choice rather than desperate need. And choice is what makes love possible instead of just mutual dependency. So how do you actually embody this? How do you maintain frame when every instinct is screaming at you to chase, fix, prove? That's what we need to explore next. Frame is everything, and most men don't even know what frame means, much less how to hold it. Frame is your internal reality, the lens through which you interpret events, the foundation that remains stable regardless of external circumstances. When you have strong frame, her mood doesn't determine your mood. Her opinion of you doesn't determine your self-worth. Her tests don't trigger your insecurity. Weak frame looks like this. She's upset, so you become upset. She questions you, so you question yourself. She withdraws affection, so you panic and chill. Your emotional state is always downstream from hers. You're reacting, not leading. And reactions reveal powerlessness. Strong frame looks different. She's upset, and you remain curious but calm. She questions you, and you clarify without defensiveness. She withdraws, and you give space without desperation. Your emotional state is internally generated. You're leading, not reacting. And leadership creates the polarity that attraction requires. But before you can hold frame with women, you need to understand what's actually anchoring your frame. And for most men, the honest answer is nothing. They have no clear purpose, no defined values, no mission that matters more than female approval. So when a woman they care about challenges them, there's nothing beneath the challenge to stand on. This is why purpose is non-negotiable. Not purpose as abstract philosophy, but actual mission. Work that matters to you, standards you maintain, goals you're building toward. When your life is organized around something beyond romantic validation, frame becomes natural, rather than performed. The man with mission treats relationships as enhancement, not foundation. She can add value to his life, but she can't become the source of his worth. And this distinction changes everything about the dynamic. When she tests him, he's not threatened. He's just observing whether she's compatible with the life he's already building. When she becomes emotional, he's not destabilized. He's just holding space for her feelings without absorbing them as his responsibility. When she pulls away, he's not panicked. He's just noting whether she can match the energy he's bringing. This isn't coldness. It's sovereignty. And sovereignty is magnetic because it's rare. Most men immediately hand their power to any woman who shows interest. They make her the center of their world before she's earned that place. They sacrifice their own goals, their own standards, their own peace, all to keep her comfortable. And she loses respect with each sacrifice, not because she's cruel, but because she's biologically programmed to value men who value themselves. When you treat yourself as disposable, she treats you as disposable. When you maintain standards for how you're treated, she rises to meet them or reveals she can't. But maintaining frame requires something most men never develop, the ability to be alone without falling apart. Because if you can't be alone, you can't be truly present with someone. You're just using them to fill a void. And women sense this dependency immediately. The man who's comfortable in solitude, who's built a life he's proud of independent of female presence, radiates something completely different. He's choosing her from fullness, not grasping for her from emptiness. And that choice, that genuine ability to walk away if the relationship becomes toxic, that's what maintains attraction long after the initial chemistry fades. So the question becomes, have you built that life? Or are you still organizing your existence around being chosen? Because until you answer that honestly, no framework or technique will save you. There's a concept most modern men have never encountered: polarity. And without understanding it, you're destined to kill every relationship you enter. Polarity is the magnetic tension between masculine and feminine energy. Masculine energy is directional, stable, purposeful. Feminine energy is flowing, emotional, expressive. When these energies are properly polarized, attraction intensifies over time. When they collapse into sameness, desire dies. Most relationships fail because the man abandons his masculine polarity. He becomes as emotional as she is, as reactive, as needy for validation. And the moment this happens, she unconsciously begins to lose attraction. Not because there's anything wrong with emotion, but because she needs him to be the stable point around which her emotional weather can move. She doesn't want you to feel everything she feels. She wants you to hold space for what she feels. There's a massive difference. Holding space means you acknowledge her emotions without being controlled by them. You empathize without drowning. You understand without absorbing her state as your own. When she's anxious, you're calm. When she's overwhelmed, you're grounded. When she's uncertain, you're clear. This doesn't mean dismissing her feelings. It means providing the masculine stability that allows her to feel safe enough to be fully in her feminine. But here's what most men miss. Maintaining polarity requires that you never abandon your purpose for her comfort. The moment you start organizing your entire life around keeping her emotionally satisfied, you've collapsed the polarity. You've become her emotional support system rather than her masculine counterpart. Women don't want to lead. They want to feel safe with a man who can. This isn't about dominance or control. It's about direction. You know where you're going. You're building something. And you invite her into that vision instead of making her the vision itself. When your life has clear direction independent of her, several things happen. First, she respects you because you haven't made her responsible for your happiness. Second, she can relax into her feminine because she's not being forced to make all the decisions. Third, she remains attracted because you haven't become predictable and safe to the point of boring. The biggest mistake men make is believing that comfort equals love. They think that once she's comfortable, once she feels completely secure, that's success. But complete comfort kills desire. Women need some edge of uncertainty, not about your character or commitment, but about your complete availability. The man who's always there, always responsive, always accommodating, becomes furniture. Familiar, useful, but not exciting. But the man who has clear boundaries, who sometimes says no, who maintains his own life and priorities, he remains interesting because he hasn't dissolved himself into the relationship. This is why busy, purpose-driven men often maintain attraction longer. Not because neglect is attractive, but because their obvious focus on something beyond the relationship creates natural space. And space allows desire to regenerate rather than suffocating under constant proximity. But maintaining this polarity requires constant vigilance, because every relationship has moments where she'll push you to abandon your frame, to collapse into her emotional state, to make her feelings your primary concern. And if you consistently fail these moments, you'll wake up one day to a woman who respects you less and desires you not at all. So the practice becomes daily. Maintain your center, regardless of her weather. Lead even when she resists. Hold space without drowning. That's how polarity survives long term. Here's the final truth that most men never learn. The woman who truly loves you will protect your peace, not disturb it constantly. If she's creating endless drama, manufacturing problems, demanding you prove yourself repeatedly, it's not love, it's a power struggle. And the moment you realize you don't have to win that struggle, that you can simply refuse to participate, everything changes. The man she can't control is the man she respects, not because he's domineering or aggressive, but because he maintains his standards regardless of consequence. He doesn't negotiate his boundaries. He doesn't explain himself endlessly. He doesn't chase her approval when she withdraws it strategically. This man has discovered something most never touch: emotional freedom. His happiness isn't hostage to her moods. His self-worth isn't determined by her opinion. His peace isn't dependent on her behavior. And this independence, this refusal to be controlled through emotional manipulation, this is what separates the men women respect from the men they use. Because make no mistake, women will use men who allow it. Not consciously or maliciously necessarily, but opportunistically. If you tolerate disrespect, it continues. If you accept breadcrumbs, that's all you'll receive. If you stay despite mistreatment, she learns that mistreatment has no consequences. The man who changes this dynamic does one thing differently. He walks away from what doesn't serve him, not angrily, not as punishment, simply as recognition that his peace is more valuable than any relationship that consistently disturbs it. And paradoxically, this willingness to walk away often saves the relationship. Because the moment she realizes you're genuinely capable of leaving, that you're not trapped by fear or dependency, her entire approach shifts. She can't take you for granted anymore. She can't assume you'll tolerate anything just to keep her. But this only works if it's real. You can't fake the ability to walk away. If you're bluffing, if you're using it as manipulation while secretly desperate, she'll sense it and call the bluff. The power comes from genuinely having built a life that would be meaningful with or without her. This is why everything circles back to purpose. The man with mission doesn't fear losing relationships because relationships aren't his primary source of meaning. He values them, enjoys them, invests in them, but he doesn't need them to feel complete. And this completeness is the final piece that makes you untouchable. When you've built yourself so thoroughly that no external validation is required, when your standards are so clear that you'll choose solitude over compromise, when your peace is so sacred that you'll walk away from anyone who consistently disturbs it, that's when you've become the man women chase instead of the man who chases. Not because you're playing games, but because you finally become who you were supposed to be all along. Sovereign, purpose-driven, unmoved by emotional manipulation, clear about your standards and unwilling to negotiate them for temporary comfort. This is the frame that changes everything. Not techniques or tactics, but fundamental transformation in how you relate to yourself. Because the man who knows himself who respects himself, who chooses himself, that man becomes magnetic without trying. The world, including women, rearranges itself around men who refuse to be moved from their center. If this changed how you see relationships, write in the comments, "I choose sovereignty." The journey from validation seeking to self-determined worth isn't easy, but it's the only path to relationships that actually enhance your life instead of drain it.